Hey guys, how's it going? Today I actually want to fix up one of these computers here because I've got a new rack, well, a new shelving rack thing. So I have actually got a few computers I can work on. Most of them need work. This is actually a Packard Bell, 486, 50 megahertz, I believe. Anyway, the one I'm actually going to be working on today is this. This is a Mitsubishi Apricot VS550. And this is like a workstation PC, you know, for businesses and stuff like that. I'm going to put this on the desk and we'll take a look at it. Alright, so this is a website I want to show you guys before we get into the video. Now, this website's a pretty cool website. You can see the address here. I'll put a link to it in the description, but basically this is a website for most of the Mitsubishi Apricot products. So if we go to desktops here, we've got all sorts of products here. And it's crazy that this site is still around, because this site, I believe, finished before the year 2000, because it still has stuff mentioning about Y2K and the Y2K bug. But luckily it's still here, and I did submit it to the Wayback Machine just in case no one else has. But anyway, if we go to the VS, which is my model, the 550 VS, as you can see we have a nice little 90s picture of the VS550, and as you can see it's like a workstation PC. As you can see, the VS550 is a full specification, hard-working business PC. You can choose exactly the combination of processor, memory, and hard disk you require to meet your business needs. And all sorts of Pentium processors you can have. Mine's the 166. Mine's the basic generic model. If we go to motherboard layout, I know mine's a Trent motherboard because it says on the PCB. And it has all sorts of information, and it's really hard to find this information otherwise without this, without this site trying to find information on this PC is really difficult. And if we go to the product data sheet for Trent, this is my particular VS550. As you can see, a choice of 166, 200, or 233 megahertz Pentium processors with MMX. Mine's just a basic, as you can see, entry level Pentium 166, which is what I have. And of course, a choice of 1.2 gig, 2.1, 3.2, and mine's the 1.2, so mine's literally the most basic model. As you can see, this first model here, can't even highlight it properly, but yeah, this first one here, that's my model, the basic one. And Windows 95 or optional DOS 6.22 and Windows Workgroups. So I'm assuming mine came with Windows 95, and mine actually came with a 14-inch CRT as well, and the original keyboard, but unfortunately I got rid of those. And this is the onboard video ATI Mark 264 VT. I'm not sure if that's a typo, because I've never heard of 264, just Mark 64, so I'm not sure. But yeah, ATI Mark 264 VT, and that's onboard video. And you also get the option of a dual USB ports. Mine doesn't have that option. And yeah, there's just absolutely loads of information on the PC. It even talks about the sound card. It has all the model numbers for the CD-ROM drive, floppy drives, and everything. So you could essentially make an OEM setup with this website. It even has, as you can see, the 14-inch SVGA monitor, which is the one I used to have with the product code, which is pretty cool. So, as I said, this is a workstation PC from around 1997 or 6, I think. Don't know how easy it is to see because the lighting isn't the best. But anyway, yeah, you got the Mitsubishi logo here. Intel Pentium sticker. This has a 166 megahertz Pentium. And I believe it has 65 megabytes of RAM, I can't remember. There's actually a bit of residue here because there was a sticker for Windows 95 because, as I mentioned on the website, these shipped with Windows 95 installed or MS-DOS 6.22 on Windows Workgroups. And the cool thing about this is that this is all metal, so the whole case here is metal, and also the back as well. The only bit that's plastic is this front part here, which luckily hasn't yellowed, so it's actually quite a nice piece, but it does need a bit of wiping down and cleaning up a little bit. But I actually want to give you a bit of backstory how I got it. So I actually got it from a car boot sale, and someone was selling it for £5 for the unit, the original monitor, and the original keyboard and mouse. And yeah, he was selling it for £5. It was awesome. I brought it home. It had a password on the BIOS, but I managed to get through that. Booted it up. It had Windows NT 4.0 on it. And it actually had some software from an airport, so it was like, I think this has been used in an airport. In, I don't know what part of an airport, or, you know, I think it's some sort of office or something. But it has some software for like flights and stuff, and information like that. And that was password protected and stuff. I didn't really want to go further, but I just formatted the hard drive, so I actually still have the original hard drive. But as you can see, there's no drives in here right now. Over the years, unfortunately, I've gotten rid of the monitor and the keyboard, which I totally regret doing. And also the machine's kind of lost parts that I've kind of... I used to have a lot more PCs, so I've kind of, like, over the years just lost bits and bobs. So it's not 100%. And then on the back here we got the power supply, which isn't actually mounted in properly. As I said, like, this thing hardly has any screws in it. Like, it needs sorting out, which is why I'm doing this video. But I also want to make this video because it's quite an interesting PC. But anyway, got the power supply, which luckily is quite clean on the inside. Voltage selection switch for 100 volt to 120 and 220 to 240. This slot here is actually for USB, which was an optional feature. This one doesn't have it. Keyboard and mouse, 2 serial ports, printer, and VGA output. Anyway, I'm going to open it up and we'll take a look on the inside. This is the inside. As you can see, it's quite a mess, just cables everywhere and stuff. But I have tested it. I have powered it up and tested it, and it does work still. I did remove the battery because that was already dead, so I'm going to replace that. But yeah, I literally just powered it up, tested it, and that's it. So, as you can see here, this is the ATI Mark 64, I think, or the ATI Rage. I can't remember what it's called. But that's the onboard video. But yeah, it's ATI, which is pretty cool. And also it's got these 2 slots here, which you can actually put some memory in and upgrade the memory for the onboard video, which I thought was really awesome. But yeah, overall it's quite dirty. It needs sprucing up a little bit. It has got a PCI slot here and 3 ISA slots, and then it's got an ISA slot here and a half-sized PCI slot, although actually that just looks like a regular PCI slot. According to the manual, that's a half-sized PCI slot, which I don't even know what a half-sized PCI slot is. Alright, so I actually managed to find the CD cage, or the cage for the CD drive, which I'm extremely happy about because I thought I'd lost this. But yeah, I found it, which is awesome. I've got this Mitsubishi floppy drive here. I'm going to temporarily use it to install Windows 95 and whatnot. Then the plan is I'm going to install this Gotek, and I'm also going to install let's see, this 40 times speed CD-ROM, you probably can't see it that well. Right now I'm booting up the laptop so I can use this external floppy drive. Just opened a brand new pack of floppies, and hopefully these floppies actually work, because even if you buy a sealed pack of floppies, there's still a chance that the floppies will be no good. So hopefully that's all good. Anyway, but while I'm waiting for the laptop to boot up, because surprisingly it started a Windows update. So whilst I'm waiting, I'm going to boot it up and show you the BIOS. And as you can see, I've put a battery in there. So let's boot her up. There we go. Now it is quite loud because, like I said, there's a fan here. I might actually change, there's a little connector, I can change it to be slow speed. I might do that instead. And as you can see, Mitsubishi BIOS, it's cut off on the top of the screen a little bit. But 1997, just counting the memory, so I'll go into BIOS. Take a look. Also, as I was taking the case off this, you know how I said I thought it was from an airport or something like that? Well, I found the evidence. It's this stamp here, Co-op Travel, 55 Western Road. So, if you're from anywhere else outside the UK has a shop called the Co-op or Cooperative, and they do all sorts of stuff, but they obviously do travel as well. They have like a travel kind of thing, but yeah, Co-op Travel. So I assume, you know, Co-op's probably been around since the 90s, which would explain it. But yeah, that's evidence this is from a Co-op Travel, which is pretty damn awesome. Anyway, so here we've got the IBM SurePath setup, 1985, and it's a pretty cool BIOS. So, system summary. You can see processor Pentium, 166 MHz, math coprocessor internal, system memory, extended memory 47 megabytes, so it's actually less than I thought. And yeah, it detects the floppy drive, which is good. I actually haven't tested this floppy drive, and I've not even tested the external floppy drive, so I'm hoping these all work, otherwise I won't be able to get anything on this system. But yeah, we got start options, you can boot from anything. You can actually boot from network as well, which is pretty cool. CD-ROM. I did try and boot from CD-ROM in the past, but I couldn't get it to work even with a bootable CD-ROM. And I actually, speaking of the CD-ROM, I actually couldn't get the CD-ROM working at all when I first got the machine and everything was hooked up and ready to go before, you know, all the parts got taken out. I could never get the CD-ROM working. I actually had several of my friends who were pretty good with computers as well, trying to take a look at it, and we just couldn't figure out how to get CD-ROM working, because we tried several different drives and different cables. I just could not get it working at all. So I wonder if I still have that issue and it just does not want to work. So we'll find that out. But I couldn't boot off CD-ROM. So advanced setup, we've got cache control, so you can actually change the cache, or how much is used, or whatever, which is good for the old school DOS games, so they don't run too fast. And yeah, we've got USB there, but we don't actually have USB ports on this. Anyway, so if I reboot, the laptop's booted up now, so if I reboot and I hit, oh, never mind. We've got the 1962 error, which is no boot device. But essentially that's what happens. And as you can see, we have the old school IBM police insert setup disk with the F1 key, and of course if we press that, we're gonna get the 1962 error again. So anyway, I need to write a floppy disk with a boot image, like something like Windows 95 boot disk. Because what I want to do with this machine is I want to get Windows 95 on here, some games, and maybe install 3dfx, Voodoo 1, we'll see. So I'm currently writing the floppy disk, I'm writing Windows 95 boot disk on there. And as that's doing that, I've also discovered that this power switch probably needs a bit of work. The top one, I believe, is a reset switch or a standby switch. That's completely broken off. But the main concern is the power switch, so will it actually work? See, it doesn't work. And it's very noisy as well. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I'm not sure what that is, to be honest. I can feel the click. But yeah, I'll probably need to try and get that sorted out too. Okay, so I was writing floppies using this external floppy drive, and I keep getting bad sector errors, even though this was like a sealed pack of floppy disks. And like I said before, even if they're sealed, they can have problems, but I did use WinImage, and for some reason using WinImage got rid of the errors, so the disk, seemed to write okay. However, when I tried to boot using the Windows 95 boot disk, it still get the 1962 error for whatever reason. And now, rather than this coming on every now and again, it's totally just not wanting to turn on at all. I've even took the switch out. So it might not actually be the switch, it could be the power supply that's actually not wanting to turn on, which kind of sucks. So that means that I'm probably going to take, you probably can't see very well, but there's an old Packard Bell here that I'm pretty much using for parts, and it's got a similar power switch, so I might take the power supply out of this, put it into this, but we'll see if it fits, because it looks slightly taller. It's hard to tell. I'll take a look. Okay, so time has passed quite a bit. It's probably been about 3 hours, and this thing has been driving me insane. So what I've done since the last update is I've replaced the power supply with the one from that Packard Bell, and the cool thing is it's actually the same brand and pretty much the same, well, it's a different model power supply, but it's the exact same size and extremely similar, so that works great. I also fixed the power switch, because, well, I fixed the main power switch, but this reset one is still buggered. When it comes to the floppy disks, I think they're bad, because I'm getting a lot of bad sectors when I'm trying to write it using external, and this is playing up a little bit. However, they might not be bad, because I finally booted up into Windows 95 setup, although it is not working right now. So basically I've been scratching my head, because every time I try and boot up, I assumed it was the floppy disk. They might still be a bit finicky, like they might be like, not 100% there, because I do get a lot of errors with writing sectors using this drive, unless it is just the external drive, I don't know. But anyway, I spent forever trying to get us to boot. It just would not boot using the floppy disk. It would read it, but I was getting that 1962 error. So I was looking online at the manual. It's actually here. Well, this is a different page, but I was looking at the manual, and it said there's a jumper on the motherboard where you can enable a recovery BIOS, and I was like, oh, I'll try the recovery BIOS and see what happens. Anyway, I tried the recovery BIOS, and basically it was going crazy with the floppy drive. It was constantly trying to seek the floppy drive for a disk, and there was no video output, so it like disabled the video output and it was just trying to read the floppy drive non-stop. And obviously, well, I actually had a different floppy drive disk in, which might be bad. I don't know. There's a lot of like mystery. I'm not sure exactly 100% what's going on in terms of like what's working, what's not. But anyway, the recovery BIOS is weird. So basically, it disabled the video output, couldn't see anything, and it just constantly kept looking for a disk. Anyway, I put the jumper back to the regular BIOS just to see if I got maybe an error message to tell me like what was happening, because there's no documentation on what the actual recovery BIOS does. But anyway, so this Windows 95 boot disk had loads of errors, like a ton of errors. So I didn't think it would work, but it actually did. So we've got Microsoft Windows 95 set up. It can't install because it doesn't have a hard disk, which is true because the hard disk is right there. And this is the actual original hard disk, the OEM hard disk, Quantum Fireball, 1.2 gig. This is originally what was in the system, and it is an OEM hard drive. I've checked the website, and that's the exact one that it was shipped with. So, and I have plugged it in, it does work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and rewrite this Windows 95 disk because it's missing a lot of files and it's buggered. I'm going to put the original hard drive in, and then hopefully we can boot back up into Windows 95 setup. But anyway, updates later. Alright, so as you can hear, floppy disk is going away. Windows setup is going ahead. Now unfortunately, well, the good thing is I think I found a floppy disk that seems to somewhat work. It's still a bit finicky, but most of these disks don't work, and it sucks because this was a sealed pack. But like I said at the beginning of the video, or earlier on, even if it's sealed doesn't mean it works. And this, to be honest, is a no-name brand, so they're not going to be super high quality. But anyway, most of these don't work. This one seems to sometimes work. This one seems okay-ish. And I'm actually up to disk 3. Now, the bad thing is, so far with the setup, it's actually not said that I'm missing any files. However, when I first started the setup, it was like, oh, you're missing this, or couldn't copy this file. But the past 2 disks it's asked for, disk 1 and 2, have been totally fine. So I'm kind of concerned that when I get to the end, if I do get that far, that I'm going to have a corrupted Windows 95, but who knows. If I can get to Windows 95, then maybe I can install that network card. I've got a network card here, this one. If I can get into Windows 95, maybe I can install this and transfer files over the network. Maybe, but either way, I've ordered some more floppy disks that are coming tomorrow, so hopefully they work much better. But for now, I'm going to try and crack on with the install. Okay, so it's the next day. I spent a long time last night after the last update trying to sort this PC out. So essentially, I actually got through the install with those, you know, botched, not so good floppy disks. I managed to get through the install. However, when I restarted the computer after the install, this hard drive, the original Quantum Fireball, for some reason the PC was not detecting the install of Windows. It kept saying replace the system disk or something like that. It just was not booting into the Windows install. So I ran setup again from the boot disk, and it said that there was an install on this hard drive, so for some reason it just couldn't find it. It was really weird. Anyway, so what I did is I found this hard drive. This is a Maxtor, or Maxtor, or however you want to say it. 850 megabyte hard drive, so it's a bit smaller, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to plug it in and see what happens. So I plugged it in, booted up, and it actually, instead of booting off the floppy disk, it just went straight to the hard drive, and actually booted into Windows 95. So this hard drive must have some old Windows 95 installed on it from a different machine. Obviously, I've put it on there myself, and there's actually quite a lot of games on there as well, like Doom, Commander Keen, Duke Nukem and stuff. And the crazy thing is, Windows 95 works. Like, it's not corrupt. It's not like, because usually, you know, if you install Windows 95 on a different machine and put the hard drive in another machine, it's not going to work. But it actually did work, which is really weird. And of course, it was asking for loads of drivers, of course, because everything's brand new for the Windows 95 install. It's like, what is this hardware? But anyway, I installed all the drivers, except for a few which I need to get still, because I'm having a little trouble trying to find the drivers for the video, the onboard video. But anyway, I'm going to boot it up. So anyway, I'm booting it up now, just to show you. I'll skip past the memory jack. It's quite a loud hard drive, but like I said, it's only 850 megabyte. Configuration change. Oh yeah, I think that's the Sound Blaster. Because yeah, I installed a Creative Sound Blaster 16, and this is the original sound card that was with the PC when I got it, as well as that D-Link network card. So anyway, there's nothing in the floppy drive right now. It's totally empty. And as you can see, starting Windows 95, there's the hard drive going. There we go, we got MS-DOS prompt. And then this is what's on the hard drive. I've not put anything on here yet. This is all just already on here. So we've got like Ubisoft, Quake, Shareware, Doom, Duke Nukem, Rayman, Monkey, I don't know what Monkey is, Monkey Island maybe? Commander Keen. Anyway, so there's lots of stuff on here, but I'll just go into Windows. Here's Windows. So, like I said, actually I forgot to mention this. I'm having trouble with Alright, so now it's booting up into Windows. There we go. Now you might be able to notice, but the background is like 16 colours or whatever, because it's all busted. Well, I say busted. It's not got the right drivers for the video install. This is all what's on here, just random utilities. So this must have been from an older PC that I installed Windows 95 onto that I no longer have. So if we go to my computer, there we go. MS-DOS 6, that's what the hard drive's called. That's pretty cool, so it actually works, and I'm surprised, because usually you can't just put a hard drive in from another system. Anyway, so if I go to Properties, Device Manager, as you can see there's some errors. Windows did install some stuff automatically, but this one here, the ATI Graphics Pro Turbo PCI Mark 64, this is the actual like onboard video, and I don't have the drivers for it, so I need to try and find those. And apparently it's causing a resource conflict or something. Not sure if that's because there's no drivers. Yeah, there's no drivers, so not sure. Anyway, update soon. Also, if you want ASMR hard drive sounds, this is the perfect time as Windows searches for new hardware. You don't get that anymore. Alright, so I got some things working now. I got the Gotek working. So it actually does work in Windows, but for whatever reason the BIOS just doesn't like reading from it, so you can't boot off it, at least with this PC. In my PC98 it actually will boot from the Gotek, but for whatever reason in this computer it doesn't want to boot from it, so other than that it works in Windows, which is awesome, so I will probably use this from now on. I also installed a video card, the Matrox Mystique, the 4MB one, I believe, if it will show me. There we go. Because as you can see, the resolution is much higher now because I got this installed. I think it's 4MB. It could be 2. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I've installed that there. I've got the Vibra 16 down there, which was a bit of a pain to get working, but now it does work. Let's see if I can test it. I think there's, where is it? Vibra 16. Samples. Don't know if you heard that. It's very quiet. It's very quiet because I'm using the speakers on this monitor, which are terrible, so it's super quiet. But yeah, the audio works. So the only thing I've got to install is this network card, which it actually does say it's installed. If I can go to it, where is it? So if I go to Device Manager, no, that's not Device Manager. If I go to Device Manager, Network Adapters, it does say it's installed and working. However, that's like a generic driver, so I'm not sure if it will work. I guess I'll have to test, but I might just try and find the actual drivers for it and install those instead. Unfortunately, I still can't find the drivers for the onboard video, which is doing my head in. Because the PC thinks it's a ATI Mark 64 PCI, even though it's onboard video. I'm not exactly sure. Like this is quite a unique motherboard anyway, in this like workstation PC, but I just can't seem to find the video drivers for it, which kind of sucks because the onboard video is pretty good and it means I wouldn't have to install this card, but for now I've got that installed. The only issue I've got now is the fact that I've not got enough room to install Voodoo 1, because this card takes up a PCI slot and so does this network card, so yeah, because I was going to install Voodoo 1, but I'm not sure. If I can get the onboard video working, I can try and install Voodoo 1, but for now it might just be 2D, no 3D, until I do an update video and maybe I get it working. But the plan is now I'll have a quick look, try and find one last search to try and find some drivers for the onboard video, and I will look for some drivers for the network card. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything out the PC now that I've kind of got it working. Actually, in fact I need to test the CD drive, because I haven't got that working. So yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, I'll have to sort the CD drive out, and then if I get that working, which would be great, I'm going to take everything out the PC, then I'm going to clean it all. Like, there's still a bit of dust in there. I'm going to wipe it all down, clean every last bit I can, dust the motherboard, then hook everything back in, and that should be it. Alright, so I got Quake running, as you can see. This is the machine, the Gotek installed. Unfortunately, I still can't get the CD drive to work. It won't even appear in Windows. And like I said, I've had this issue even when I first got it with the original OEM CD drive, although for some reason the OEM CD drive would appear in Windows but didn't work. But any other drive I tried to put in doesn't appear in Windows. So I'm not sure if it's like a BIOS related thing, but either way, still can't get it to work. Of course it actually is connected, but it won't work. But yeah, this is it. I put it all together. I did clean it as best as I could and tried to make it as neat as I can, but it's quite hard with all the RD cables. But yeah, that's what it looks like. And yeah, the sound works. So everything works except for the CD drive. I'm gonna try and see if I can get that working though. Well, that is it set up for now. I think we're gonna call it there. Like I said, I still need to get the CD drive to work and try and find the drivers for the onboard video, but right now I'm using that 2D card. But yeah, that's the Mitsubishi Apricot VS550. Pretty interesting workstation PC. I would like to, in the future, put a Voodoo 1 in this, which would be cool. Do a little bit of like the early 3D FX games. And also, I would like to eventually get all the OEM parts for this, including the keyboard, mouse, monitor, because all the OEM parts are listed on the website I showed you guys before, so I might actually go out and try and get all the OEM parts, make it a proper OEM original, like, you know, it's factory setting in a way. Anyway, that's it for today, so appreciate you guys watching. Hope you have a great day.